Move over virtual selling, here comes hybrid. Sounds quite a brash statement, and probably one that people would want to challenge me on. And that would be fair because in some ways, I'm not saying that virtual selling is over. I'm saying that what we should do is really just consider this within the bigger picture. And that is that selling has evolved and evolved to a degree where hybrid selling is going to be the thing that the most effective salespeople will understand and be able to use to operate most effectively. So yes, it's a shift towards the future, and yes, it's a shift that is happening reasonably quickly. And certainly the current climate, so with COVID, lockdowns, and the rest of it, something that is giving salespeople an opportunity to really take stock and to think, are they making the difference that they can? So I like to use the Evolve model to help people in their thinking as to where they are in this process, also in the learning that they may have to undertake to be able to make this difference, and most importantly in the doing. So actually doing day in, day out the things which are going to help. So let's just explore what the Evolve model is made up of. The first element of Evolve are the essentials. So these are the essentials for success. And I call them this because this reminds me of my very first job with a sales training company where I was essentially custodian for the open course, The Essentials for Success. And this was great. This was the introduction that many salespeople would have to the world of professional selling. It was the first training that a lot of them went on. And so we went through those fundamentals. So we would talk about the selling benefits as a key, as a foundation before people should even start talking to customers. We talked about prospecting. We talked about managing meetings. We thought about writing proposals and then how these could be presented face to face or live. We talked about planning, so understanding where business was coming from, what were the best opportunities, how to qualify. And we talked about self-management, or time management as people like to call it, but we know we can't manage time, we have to manage ourselves. So for me, those essentials would still ring true. And I was doing that 20 years ago, but fundamentally they would still be the basis for good solid sales and something that we would expect salespeople to be good at, to be competent in. I would now add into the current climate, because of the current climate and the way that sales has evolved and shifted, collaborative selling. And you might say, well, of course you would. That's what you've written the book Selling Through Partnering Skills about. But I do think that that is what can help people adopt the right mindset and the right approach to be successful in selling today. So the V of Evolve is about virtual selling. So yeah, I don't think virtual selling is going to move away. It's going to become part and parcel of the way that we operate. So virtual selling, for the purpose of this conversation, it's about how we can operate using the tools and the techniques that are given to us by modern technology. So phone very much included in this, emails very much included in this, but certainly video conferencing, so Zoom, Teams, WebEx, whatever your favorite platform, being skilled, and I would say as a professional salesperson, more than just competent in delivering messages, in having conversations, in inspiring collaboration through these platforms. I would also add into this, and I'm sure again many people would take a tilt at this and perhaps argue with it, but I would put just social selling within this part. So social selling, again using technology or using the social media platforms that we can now use to build and to influence relationships. I think primarily for B2B salespeople, this is going to be LinkedIn. And again, I would want people to be more than just competent in it. I think they should look to try to be good at how they use that as a platform. And then if it's relevant, and only if it's relevant, Twitter, maybe even Facebook, maybe even Instagram. but I suppose if you're a B2B salesperson listening to this, you would understand that LinkedIn is probably where most of the action's at for you. The next element that the Evolve model helps us understand is opportunity management. So for me, opportunity management is different to account management. There are plenty of similarities, but opportunity management focuses more in on the opportunity, a particular project, a particular chance to win business. So I use in this what I call the 9-box model, basically because there's 9 boxes, which encourage us to think about data, DMU, and decisions. So this is all about information. It's understanding what we know and what we don't know, the famous known unknowns. Because if we've got things that we realize that we do need to understand better, this becomes a challenge. It's a challenge to ourselves. It's a challenge where we can go out and try to understand that. So this may be to do with a competitor, it may be to do with the way the company operates, what their targets, vision, goals are. And more than likely, it's going to be around the decision-making unit or the buying committee. The people involved in making the decision. How do they do that? What are they thinking? What's important to them? What challenges do they have? What issues, what concerns, what goals, what aspirations? The more as a salesperson we understand this, the better job we can do. We can work out how they make decisions. We can help them make decisions. And this in turn affects our own decisions. In other words, the actions that we're going to take to move the opportunity forward. This is, for me, a key area of modern selling, to be able to take opportunities and manage them through successfully. The L of the Evolve model is about leading. So I have a strong opinion that salespeople are change agents, or certainly should start to think and act like this. More often than not, we will be challenging the status quo. We want customers to do things differently, and that we know isn't always easy. So the more comfortable we are with change, and the more that we can help people manage how they evolve through a change curve, we can then start to talk about change as an opportunity. So thinking about that and being something of a servant leader is very much a role that a modern salesperson can fulfill. So it brings in a whole new set of skills, and which is why I would put this in under the hybrid selling approach. It needs us to help us understand how to do this. The V is about value selling. So value selling isn't anything particularly new. Certainly there's been a big focus on this since the 2000s, arguably the noughties. But it doesn't make that any less important. We've really got to understand what value is. And as a colleague of mine often says, it's a mystery. We don't really know what value is. We've got to work out what it is to the customer. That's the prime secret of value selling. Once we know how we can start to define this, then we can start to really bring the insights and bring ways of working that's going to help them not only discover what value is, but to really start to create and to deliver on that. Again, it's the whole set of sales skills and things which a modern salesperson should be comfortable with to be able to make that difference to be successful in the modern environment. And E is about expand. So there's a model that's often talked about, which is land and expand. I've often had a bit of a problem with this because it just sounds a bit manipulative, but it does make sense. It is about starting off on a project, just starting to get some opportunities, delivering on those, helping the customer with success. And so naturally, the whole relationship starts to evolve. So from this point of view, it's not a bad thing. It does make a lot of sense. Account management very much comes into play. So taking potentially some of the elements of the opportunity management and starting to use these to really keep building the relationship, delivering the value, delivering success, delivering the outcomes that we promise to customers. And so that's why I think that the discipline of customer success management is also something that salespeople should at least understand. Even if it's not being wholly proficient in it, knowing that this is a developing function, that there are people who are tasked with making sure the customer gets what we deliver. Very popular in IT sector, starting to roll out into other areas, and so that outcome focus and making sure customers really getting what we said they were going to get makes a lot of sense. So that's a very quick run through the Evolve model. It's why I think that it is time for virtual selling to move over a bit, or as I've said, just to take its position within a broader scheme of things, where we can really, as professional sellers, think about how can we evolve, how can we adapt to take on this hybrid approach that's going to make a difference and ensure our success.